My piece over the weekend was Africa and the Vision Thing. I started with Jorge Luis Borges, who said, "Reality is not always probable or likely." US AFRICOM Commander General Waldhauser last week gave us a deep insight into how the US sees the African theatre, much like FOCAC affords us insights into how China looks at the continent. Interestingly, the UN Chief Secretary General Antonio Guterres harked back to another speech which was delivered to the Parliament in Cape Town on February the 3rd, 1960, and by a British Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, who said, "The wind of change is blowing through this continent, whether we like it or not. This growth of national consciousness is a political fact." The overarching point remains that our and Africa's reality is key, and was something that Macmillan was referring to. Returning to General Waldhauser, and I'm quoting excerpts from his speech before the Senate Committee on Armed Services. US Africa Command, with partners, strengthens security forces, counters transnational threats, conducts crisis response in order to advance US national interests, and promote security, stability, and prosperity. Each day, we have approximately 7,000 personnel conducting their assigned tasks on the African continent. According to the Fund for Peace's 2018 Fragility State Index, 33 of the 50 countries most at risk of becoming unstable are in Africa. For scale, Africa is over 3 times larger than the US. The US Africa Command area of responsibility encompasses 53 countries with a population of 1.3 billion. By 2050, this figure is forecasted to almost double to over 2.54 billion, with 1 out of every 4 people on the planet living on the African continent. Wayne Gretzky said a good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going to be. The demographic puck is headed to Africa. Whether it will be a fabulous dividend or a time bomb is still an open question, of course. Waldhauser added, US Africa Command also plays a significant role in advancing the priorities outlined in the national security and defense strategies, which emphasize the rise of China and Russia as key competitors. US Africa Command has also observed increased engagement of non-traditional security actors such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE as both challenges and opportunities to our mission. Curiously, India did not get a shout out, and nor did Europe, where France and Italy are at loggerheads. The US has a hard power advantage with which it can tilt the pitch. But that advantage, whilst important, is one-dimensional. The speech spoke of a switch away from terrorism, notwithstanding a nod towards violent extremist organizations known as VEOs, and their destabilizing impacts on African partner states and towards great power competition. Our efforts to ensure strategic access must also be viewed through the lens of competitor influence and coercive activities. China is a strategic competitor and has most successfully employed its model in Djibouti, holding 80% of the government of Djibouti's debt, where access through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea, and the Suez Canal remains a US strategic imperative. The US is evidently concerned that China will eventually seek to deny US access to African markets and ports. The report also cited Senegal and Angola as being recipients of Chinese largesse. Waldhauser mentions Russia, which seems to be also making its move. Today, as we scan our continent, there are plenty of fluid situations from Bashir's Khartoum to Mnangagwa's Zimbabwe and many points in between. Young people are connected to each other and to the world. So far, it is Prime Minister Abiy who appears to be sketching out a new African political horizon. And this brings me to the vision thing. Where is it? Who is providing it? It's high time we authored it, because this is a born-free generation. I was referencing Antonio Gutierrez's comments about the wind of change. This is the link to his tweet. And then the actual speech on February the 3rd, 1960, Harold Macmillan. The wind of change is blowing through this continent. Whether we like it or not, this growth of national consciousness is a political fact. Andrew Koribiko has given a very interesting interpretation on the Russian arrival in Africa. And he's saying making the People's Republic dependent on Russia's regime reinforcement services could in effect crown Moscow as kingmaker of African geopolitics in the future.